the engine running because I wanted to hear the rumble of it while I stood there with my back to it, looking off toward home. I stood with my hands on my hips and stared at Fair Mountain and tried to imagine what everyone was doing at this very minute. It was still morning, but barely. Granny would be out on Mad Maggie, her mule, off to deliver a baby or tend to a new mother. My granddaddy, Daddy Hoyt, would be gathering plants for his healings. Ruby Poole, my sister-in-law, would be fussing over baby Russell and giving him his morning feeding. My oldest brother, Link, would be rounding up the cattle or working in the barn. Sweet Fern, the oldest of all of us, would be cooking something and shouting at Karina to stop teasing her brothers. Harley would be at the little white church. My other brothers, Johnny Clay and Beechard, were off somewhere, just like me. Beechard was working on the Blue Ridge Parkway. We called it the Scenic, the new road that stretched across the mountaintops from Virginia to North Carolina, right up to the border of Tennessee. But Johnny Clay could be anywhere. He might be in California by now. He might even be in Mexico, running far, far away from home and the man he almost killed. I stood there and blinked at the mountains. A stranger would have thought they all looked the same, but I could tell them apart from here. Devil's Courthouse, Witch Mountain, Bone Mountain, Blood Mountain, Fair Mountain. Fair Mountain was mine. I stood there a long time, very still. I almost stopped breathing. I felt myself start to fade into the air, into the road. I lost track of my feet and legs and arms and hands. Suddenly, I could hear that truck. It was saying, "Get back in, Velva Jean. Come on, let's keep going. Yellow truck coming, bringing me home again. Yellow truck going. I'm on my way." I turned around and walked to the truck and climbed back inside. I pulled out into the road, and as I started on toward Nashville, I didn't look in the rearview mirror again. I just stared straight ahead till I could breathe. By the time I crossed the Tennessee state line, I'd stopped singing. I felt like I'd been driving for days, but it had only been hours, and I still had miles to go. I thought I would never get to Nashville, not in 5 years. I pulled into an Esso station in Calderwood. The attendant shuffled when he walked and went slow as could be, as if he had all the time in the world. He looked at me funny, and then leaned past me and kind of peered in the cab of the truck like he was looking for something or someone. He said, "Afternoon, ma'am." "Afternoon. Could you fill it up, please?" I counted out my money from the coin purse that held every penny I had in the world. $121.11. It suddenly didn't seem like much.
"Yes'm, sure thing."
He frowned, looked past me at the empty seat, and then shuffled over to the gas pump. As he filled up the tank and then cleaned the windows, I pulled out the map and looked at the line I'd drawn from Devil's Kitchen, which wasn't even a dot on the page, to Nashville. It was a long line. It was miles and miles long. Why hadn't I noticed how far it was when I was setting out? I thought, "Velva Jean, maybe you should just turn back, girl. You got no business being on this road by yourself. You're a married woman. You got a home and family. What are you doing out here in this great big world?" I sat there for a moment and really thought about this. The attendant said,
"Where are you headed?"
I said, "Nashville."
"Where are you coming from?"
"Up near Waynesville." I picked a town he might know. "Over in North Carolina." I felt a stabbing in my heart as I said it. For the first time in my life, I was in another state. I was in Tennessee. I was getting farther and farther from home and from everyone I knew in this world. He narrowed his eyes, and then he nodded.
"Well,"
he said,
"you got a long way to go."
I passed the hitchhiker east of Loudon. He was young and dusty with a crew cut and a bag over one shoulder. He held his thumb out like he expected everyone in the world to stop, like that was all it took. He waved at me as I drove on past, turning to stare at him. I wondered if he was a murderer or a thief or a person in search of his destiny, like me. I tried to picture myself hitchhiking, thumb out, suitcase and hat box at my feet.